They'll be on the website. So these audio files are being recorded digitally. They will go to our website. You'll be able to go to ciceronewyork.net and listen to any meeting that you want, and unedited. So that's our commitment to try to be more transparent to you, so that those of you who do not attend the meetings on a regular basis will listen to them. The other thing tonight is we are going to have 2 executive sessions. The first executive session will be to talk about a labor issue, and the second is a personnel issue. We will reconvene after the first executive session. We will not reconvene after the second. So after the first executive session, if you choose to stay, you can, but you're not going to see anything when we reconvene because we're leaving. However, that being said, tonight, first of all, we'll get started. First of all, good evening, and welcome to the 19th regular meeting of the Cicero Town Board. I'd like to point out the emergency exits. We have 2 at the back of the room. The door you came in and the one to your right. And we have an emergency exit here to your left. Please silence your cell phones or other electronic devices so that the meeting is not unnecessarily disturbed. If you must speak on your cell phone, please exit to the back hallway or outside. We also ask the audience to keep chatter to a minimum so as not to disturb others. The town acknowledges the full importance of public participation in all meetings and hearings, and we therefore urge all who wish to address the board to utilize the microphone at the front of the room. If anyone is unable to hear, please let us know so adjustments can be made. We have Boy Scout Troop 3112 here tonight. I'm happy that they are, and they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, gentlemen, come on. Today, or I got my copy today. I don't know if the board has read the minutes, but if you'd like to read the minutes, we can put it off to the next meeting. I have not read them, so I would vote abstain.
I have no objection to that.
I don't either.
Okay, then we're going to leave the minutes till the next. Councilor Cushman, abstracts?
I'll make a motion to accept abstract number 44, dated October 31st, 2018, abstract number 45, dated November 7th, 2018, and abstract number 46, dated November 14th, 2018, as presented.
Any board comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those nay? Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you.
We didn't have a second on that.
We did have a second? Did not.
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. We'll call the vote again. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you. Budget mods, there were none. We're now going to open the public hearing on the 2019 town budget. I think you're going to find it interesting, and I think most of you, I think, will like what we've actually come up with. The town board has a responsibility for the general management and control of the finances of the town. This budget has been put together with the best interest of all taxpayers in the town of Cicero. I have proof of publication and posting. And to kick us off, we have with us tonight your controller, Mrs. Shirley Stewart. And Shirley, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. The Cicero Town Board is presenting the final version of the 2019 preliminary budget for a public hearing this evening, November 14, 2018. The proposed budget reflects a tax levy increase of 4.11% over 2018. This includes the special districts. The 2019 tax cap allowance for the town of Cicero is 2.8%, which includes an adjustment for the transfer of the North Syracuse courts of $29,835, reflecting the increase of tax levy of $451,026 over 2018 tax levy. That's the tax cap. The monetary tax rate increase without including the special district charges is $27 on property assessed at $100,000 or 27 cents per 1,000 assessed valuation. The assessed valuation of the entire town increased $42 million over 2018's tax roll, which resulted in a 2% increase in the town of Cicero's assessed valuation. The overall town assessed valuation is the determining factor in the calculation of your tax rate. Some highlights in the 2019 preliminary budget are as follows. 2% wage increases in non-union positions. 2% to 6% wage increases in the contractual bargaining units. Retroactive wages for the police department. New York State retirement percentages for the town contribution portion will remain the same as 2018. It runs from 9% to 24.6%, depending on the retirement plan. We have a computer replacement program, the Brewerton Riverfront project, the town hall generator, tractor mower and truck replacement in the Parks Department, paving at Skyway Park, a transfer of $700,000 to the capital project for the highway project, a debt payment of $1,876,673, highway paving and equipment totaling $1,315,500 will be a borrowing utilizing a BAN. Special districts. Special districts within the town are fire hydrant, the water improvements, fire protection, sewer improvements, drainage, brush and trash, lighting, and ambulance. These districts were established to due to the area they will benefit from the stated improvement. Highlights in the 2019 special district budgets are 5% increase within the consolidated fire district, protection district, let me get that straight. Underground lighting district increased $19 per unit. The decorative underground district increased $8 per unit. Trash contractual was decreased by $37 per unit due to the increased 2018 trash and brush tax levy that was set prior to the signing of the actual contract. This budget was reconciled by using $1,575,000 of fund balance generated by the general funds and highway fund. I'd like to thank Mark, the town board members, and all of the department heads for your cooperation during this budget process. The town of Cicero has many future financial endeavors, and I feel this current fiscal path will continue to keep the town of Cicero fiscally stable and provide our residents with a moderate and affordable budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a couple comments before we open it up to questions from the audience and the board. We had some real challenges this year, okay? Just so you know where we are, right? The highway garage, we are over budget by $1.4 million. I have Don Snyder and I have Don Bloss, two hardworking people who do not get paid, who spend almost as many hours here as I do. The referendum on the highway garage cost you $36,000. The board had approved the building because the engineering studies told us that the building needed to be replaced. But the public wanted a public vote, so we took it to a vote. That cost you $36,000. The rest of the overrun on that was, the total was $1.4 million. By putting the building off a year, we had a 40% increase in steel prices because of steel tariffs. We had a 3% increase in the wages that are paid because we have to pay prevailing wage. And also the other materials, the steel, not the steel, but the copper and all that stuff that goes into it, equated to $1.4 million. A lot of money. What we've decided to do as a board is we are going to pay for that. We're not going to raise taxes. So what we're going to do is we had a great year last year. And this board did a great job with your money. And not just because I'm saying it, but we did. And I'll just back that up by saying Standard & Poor's thinks so too, because for 2 years in a row, we're doubly credit rated. They told us that we were one of the elite towns, right, in New York State, financially. But we're going to pay cash for that. So next year we're going to spend $700,000 without raising taxes is our goal. And then the following year, in 2020, we're going to spend another $700,000 out of fund balance and out of what we have to pay the difference on that building. But the referendum cost us $1.4 million. The other driver of this budget is each one of our fire departments. So we have 5 fire departments, as many of you know, that touch the town of Cicero. Brewerton, South Bay, Bridgeport, Cicero, and North Syracuse. They were hit, and we were hit, because they were all one together, with a mandatory unfunded mandate to pay for cancer insurance for all of our firefighters. I don't have the exact number, there's been numbers kicked around, but we're planning in the fire departments, and correct me, because I know we have some chiefs here and assistant chiefs, about $350 per member. So each fire department asked this year for a 5%, and one asked for a 6% increase, and there was some other issues too. These guys have done, men and women have done a great job, and I wouldn't say it if they didn't do it. But they did a great job with the budgets this year, but we have to cover that as well. And then there's other things that we have to cover as far as the mandates, and surely you have the numbers on our health insurance and things that we cannot control. We had 3 labor contracts up in my first year as supervisor. Walk into 3 labor unions, all saying, give me more, right? Actually, we didn't give them more. We held 2 of the unions to 2% wage increases. One of them was getting 4% a year. We rolled that back to 2%. The unions have been great to work with. We've had some words, but they've been great to work with. The other one, unfortunately, we have one that we're just finishing up an arbitration with because we could not come to terms on health insurance and the longevity of the cost. But we'll do our best to resolve that. We have great emergency responders, great police officers, and we have a well-run police department. So those were some of the drivers in our costs this year. So the highway department is going to cost us 3%. And then the other costs, including the increases to our first responders, our fire departments, another couple of percent. So let's get this straight on the numbers. We have a $39 increase per household for 2019. Ouch. Except we negotiated a new trash contract, because I want to remind you guys, on May 10th at 2:10 in the afternoon, Mike Fear from Fear Rubbish called me and said, Mark, I hate to tell you this, but there's no trash pickup tomorrow. We're done. Wow, I don't know what you guys did that weekend, but I was on the phone for like 24 hours with every trash hauler between here and Rochester. We negotiated a trash contract at 7:30 Monday morning, okay? So when we put this contract, because everyone's garbage was picked up, I hope you all like that, because we worked hard to do that. But what the bottom line is that when we had budgeted for Fear, we didn't know what the cost was going to be, so we overcharged all of you last year for trash pickup. So every household in the town of Cicero is going to be rebated through their taxes, $37 for the year. The tax increase is $39. So the average cost to the homeowner for 2019 per unit for the whole year is $2.
On a house assessed at $150,000.
On a house assessed at $150,000. $300,000 house, you're going to pay $4 for the whole year. So on the $150,000 house, you're looking at an increase of 16.6 cents per month for 12 months. Not bad with what we had to face. So I hope you guys are happy with that. I don't know if you had any other, and we'll open it up to comments about the budget if anyone wants to
And
talk.
can I make one correction, please?
You may.
I think I stated in my document here that the underground living district increased by $19 per unit. That is not true. In fact, I think it was only decreased by 50 cents, so that figure is not true.
Okay.
Just wanted to turn that-
And all of you guys probably read in the Post-Standard or heard that Okra, the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency, has raised the rates. I think, what is it, Shirley, what is that?
I'm sorry.
$8 a ton okra?
I don't know for sure.
We don't have the exact figure,
No,
but
I-
that should not affect your taxes this
It
year.
won't affect the taxes because I raised too much last year.
Right, so we're rebating that,
Yeah.
taking that into
But I
account.
still
So,
have money left to pay for that increase.
Right.
And even with this going back to the public, we have money left to
Right.
pay. I think it's like $55,000.
so, we're building a highway garage. It will be done. It will outlive me. I will be dead. And that garage will be here, and it's expandable. So as people, as the town continues to grow, and we're growing, people want to live here. We're a very desirable neighborhood, or a very desirable town. We're going to be able to accommodate taking care of our equipment, washing it for the first time ever, right, Chris? So we'll get some more years out of them. And the building is expandable. So when we redesigned the building, the first design, for those of you, and I'm going to bore you just for a minute, when we looked at the building, when we were first elected 3 years ago, it was a great building. Called in the engineers, Don will tell you, loved it. I said, I love this building, it's great. The engineers are smiling, yeah, we really like it, yeah, great, you love the building. I said, there's one problem with the building. And then their faces they stopped smiling. I said, we're not going to build it. I said, it's too expensive. So let's go back to the drawing board. We spent a year with Chris, with the Dons, with the building committee. We expand that building to accommodate future growth. Okay, so we thought that that was the best thing, but they're expensive. It's expensive. So we're building a new highway garage, cost us $10 million. Now it's going to cost us $11.4 million, but we know why, right? So we were caught short-handed this year. We are going to take care of our fire departments. Our fire departments, the men and the women, take care of us, and we got to take care of it. The money is well spent. We reviewed their budgets. We also have the increases that we cannot control. And I just want to say something else too. In the 3 years that we've been here, we have reduced over $370,000 a year the cost to run this business. I call it a business because we run it like a business. The first 3 months I was here, we saved $66,000 a year by changing insurance carriers. You were paying me $40, $45 or whatever, so I think I made my money back for you, right? And then we have done other things to reduce our cost. Our health and safety program saved us $79,000 this year, return on investment. So overall, if you add it all up over the last 3 years, and this is on an annual basis, we're saving the town, so we're looking at your cost. We look at the cost very carefully. So I think $2 a year on a $150,000 home for 2019 is something that I can look you in the eyes with and say it's a good budget. And that's enough of me talking, because I know the board has comments and questions, and the audience does too, so we'll turn it over to the public hearing. Anyone who would like to address the board about the 2019 budget?
I'm Heather Scott. I live on Anglers Club. I just have a quick question. I wanted to know where the contracts are. They were on the website, and all of the contracts are off the website now.
Correct. We had one of our vendors, and they're foilable, so you can foil them, we'll be happy to give it to you. We're not hiding it. There was a concern with a vendor who does business with the town of Cicero for competitive reasons, having the contract up there for competitors to look at. Anyone can foil them, the competitors can foil them. But they had come and said, I'm not comfortable, having my contract out there. This is something we negotiated with the board and with the town. It's foilable, it's public information. We'll give you anything you want.
And then the other question I have is, I know that we are still raising taxes, just whether it's $2 or 50 cents, it doesn't matter. Since it is technically, according to the information you've given, for the garage, will the taxes go back down?
We have a 30-year note. We took a bond, and the public voted in favor of that bond, in building the building. And I think last year, the numbers that were given to us by Shirley and the financial people, Dick included, Dixon, was $11 in taxes last year for the garage. That would increase to $22 on the second year through year 29. But we had the $1.4 million that we didn't foresee because of that.
Okay. And then I know you keep saying about the increase because of having us vote on the garage.
Yes.
Originally, when back, and I don't have the information in front of me, but it was supposed to be voted on way back.
We made a decision, and the board will speak for themselves.
I understand you made a decision, and I do understand that.
Yeah.
But I regret the fact that you keep blaming the referendum. The referendum should have been done before you voted on it.
Here's the situation, and I'm going to take 1 minute and kind of give you my thought process on this. And I'm going to tell you how serious this was. When we had Hubert Brewer come in, and actually it was Councilor Carp who made the suggestion, it was a good idea. Mark, let's bring in someone, he said to the board, let's bring in an independent structural engineering company to look at this highway garage, because we didn't know what we were up against. And I'm just going to make this as fast as I can. When you first elected me to the board, I was the liaison to the highway department, and I met Chris Wesnick. I went out there, it was January of the year, and I walked into that building, and I went up into the sign room, and we had water running through conduit. Okay, that's how bad the building was. We knew we had to replace the building. That decision was made prior to me becoming supervisor. It was made with the former supervisor and former board. And Don are shaking yes, they were part of that building committee, and they've done a great job. So at any rate, first we looked at replacing the roof, and then it was like, oh geez, the cost of the roof on this building, and it didn't meet our needs. So here's what we were with. I came from a very strict business background. It's dollars and cents and cost and budgets, right? So when we looked at the overall project, and then we called the structural engineer at John's urging, it was a good idea. And they came in, and Chris Wesnick was with me. We came in here after hours. We walked through the building. The guy was there for 2 hours. He was there with a clipboard, didn't talk to us at all. I mean, he's walking around. He gets to the back of the building. That building's full of asbestos, mold, all this kind of stuff. He gets around to the back corner of the building, and he takes his foot. True story. Chris was here. he kicks the wall, and his foot goes through the cinder block wall. And he looked at Chris and he looked at I, and he goes, "Do you want me to condemn the building now?" So we were faced with a situation where we had, in my mind, and the board will speak for themselves, we're not spending the money to build a swimming pool. We're not going to build a water park, and I'm just going to use that as an example. You know, to me, wants, needs, wants, right? Highway garage is a need, and I'll tell you how close we came. If that building, and we talked about it, there was a lot of scratching of heads, and there was a lot of, angst over this. If that building had gone down and not been approved, we got a building that a structural engineer wants to say in writing needs to be condemned. This is your town. I live here with you. We had no place for our highway department to go. We spent $10,000 of your money to brace the wall and brace the back corner of that roof to get us through one winter. Now it's going to be two. So in my mind, and you've run for office, and hopefully you'll be successful in your own way, but people elect you to get into the weeds with things that they don't. And we did a lot of research on this. We brought in a structural engineer. We had people involved with this building project, and we knew two things. If we put the building off, the estimates were from the engineers in our building committee that we'd lose a whole year on the building, and it would cost us about $1 million. And I didn't believe it. I said, it's not $1 million. That was me sharing my thought with you. So we decided, well, you know what? You elect us to make decisions. So we consulted with engineers. Everything on that building is on the website. You can read their report. You can read Hubert Brewer. You can read everything that was generated on that building. So we made a executive decision, a board decision, that we were going to go ahead and approve it. Why? Because we're not spending your money on a swimming pool. We're not spending money on a water park. And we knew, the experts told us that the cost would escalate if we held off. I'm always looking, and we are, as a team, we're looking after your dollar. We spend your dollar like it comes out of our wallets.
I don't have any complaint about building the
Right.
garage.
No, so I'm
Okay,
not
I
complaining.
want the garage.
Right, so anyway.
My complaint is the fact that I feel like we as voters should have had a say in that.
And you did.
When you immediately knew that the building was going to be in such bad, wait, let me
Okay, I'm
finish.
sorry, because I have a bad habit. Go ahead.
When you knew how bad it was when you had the structural
Yeah.
engineer go through it, why wasn't a referendum put forth saying, look, this is an estimate as to how much money we think we're going to have to spend on this, and we would not have been in a position where we've had to have a referendum after the fact.
Okay.
And again, the tariffs happened because of Donald Trump, okay? So we have nothing, we have no
Understood.
control over that,
Understood.
nothing.
Right.
So,
But we made a decision, hopefully two things. Number one, that we would take advantage of 2018's, 2017's, no, we would have been building last year, right? So 2017, right, is a building season. We thought, and that we would save, the experts told us $1 million by doing it then, right? And we felt that because it was a need, not a want, that it was something that the voters would approve. But let me tell you this, and I'm very serious, and this is very serious. We have 22 employees, team members, who work out of that building every day. There's mold, there's asbestos. The building is not, we calculated, and the engineers helped us with this, and I think Don Snyder helped us with this. Leaving all this equipment outside, the rust out and the wear out. I mean, when we did the business reason, it was all business
but
reason.
again, I don't have any complaint
I understand.
about the garage. So what you're saying is just complaint. All I wanted to do was just
I'm not complaining, I'm just telling
say,
you
I
the facts.
mean, I don't have a complaint about the garage, I want the garage.
But yes, but it did cost you, for all of those things, for all the reasons we just talked about.
But again, you say it cost us, again, I
It
just
did.
want to say
It cost you $1.4
that if
million.
you had done it at the beginning, it would not have cost us. That's the bottom line.
I don't know, Don and Don, I don't know. I mean, they're kind of making faces. If the
John,
referendum takes
Mr.
time.
Hart, do you?
I think what the point you're trying to make is if we made it a mandatory referendum, the vote would have been a couple months earlier, and we might not have missed the season.
That's right.
That might be correct.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we did our best. Anyone else? You want to talk to us about the budget? Anybody? Former Supervisor Kessel.
I'm kind of confused.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The way this budget budget, I'm Betty Carlisle, I live over Muskrat Green Road.
Hi, Betty.
I'm very confused by this budget, it's very hard to follow.
It is?
I'm an ordinary citizen who pays my tax.
Yep.
And I feel that if we're gonna put a budget out, it should be something anybody could read and set aside.
Right.
That's number one.
I'll
And
ask
this is not. In fact, this obfuscates, which means that a lot can be hidden in it, and maybe that's not the intent, but to my suspicious mind,
that. I agree with you.
it makes me feel that way. What's hiding in here? So then on this first page, you have adopted versus modified. I assume that's 187.50%. Is that an increase, a decrease?
I'm gonna let Shirley speak to that. That question that you raised, and I'm glad you did, came up when you first elected me supervisor. So we do two budgets. The budget you're looking at is the budget that has to go to the state of New York because that is the way they want to see it. I don't understand. I mean, if I look at it like you, because I'm not a numbers guy. There's a numbers guy, and there's a numbers lady. But the budget that we submit is the budget that the state of New York requires. What we did do last year is I had asked Shirley to put the budget, there's another form of the budget, which we will be happy to give to you. If you call the town hall tomorrow, call the controller. We have a new phone system, so you can go to the controller, and she'll give you a budget that even people like me can look at and understand. But the budget you're looking at is the budget that we are required by law.
So what's this 187, what does that mean?
I don't know what you're looking at.
Page one.
These are all tax legislation.
Can you speak into the microphone, Shirley, so that everyone can hear your
That's the
answer?
first page.
These are the percentage of the increases over last year. 187.5% increases over last year's tax levy. That's right. So last year's tax,
That's a lot.
you're missing part of this. This is it. You're missing the whole tax levy part. We've only got 3 sections. There's 4 sections. How about if I make you a copy of the sheet?
Well, right, because I'm going, that's an incredible increase.
Sure it is.
My salary doesn't go up that way, and my expenses go up that way, but this is crazy.
But you gotta understand, it's always the bottom line, because these are different funds. 4.11. See that number right there?
Well, I don't know.
I know, we don't get
This is what I got off the website,
Okay.
so that's a problem.
So it's not complete. I apologize for that, but we'll give you whatever you need.
And then I have another question.
Yep.
Now, and I can't find that page, but I'm looking at the increase in certain salaries. Some of them are very high. 16% increase over 2 years in the time period that we've been going through economically is over the top. And
Can you be specific, and I will try to answer your question.
how's that?
Can you be specific, and I'll try to answer your question.
Okay, I believe that the supervisors was $43,000 and something 2
Right.
years ago. And we're going for 57,
Right, over 2
and
years.
that's about a 16%, right?
Right,
I
over 2
believe
years.
the comptrollers had similar, although I don't recall the comptrollers, 27.
Let me talk to you about salaries, and you can
And
agree or
so-
disagree,
I'm concerned about that.
okay?
Can I answer that, Mark?
You may.
Yours started out at 48,000. You discussed a $10,000 increase last year, and it was discussed in a workshop.
Right.
And I think what they came down to compromising is that you would get an increase of 3,000 last year, your 7,000 would be increased this year. I
Right.
think it's about a 10%.
And that was voted on and discussed publicly last
Everyone
year.
else in that line, and everyone else is a non-union member, is a 2%
Most
increase.
of the salaries were about
2%,
2%.
including the comptroller, I just want you to make sure.
Okay.
It's 2%.
Then I don't know where I'm getting these figures, okay? And so, I know that, I don't know how many people are in Social Security in this town, but I would suspect a fair percentage.
Yeah,
And as you know, we got a COLA increase of 2%,
right.
but our healthcare went up about 20% in that same time frame. So when I look at a budget, a city budget,
Yeah.
I have to ask, how are you going to sustain that and not kick us all out of town?
Well,
And
know,
that's a big deal, you
Right.
know?
Well,
Because this town grew because there were some people here.
Well, I'm the numbers guy, I need to question the statement you just made. Your social security is gonna go up 2.8. And in 2012, federal government passed a law saying that your health insurance actual dollar amount cannot exceed what the increase was in your social security increase. So the most your health insurance is gonna go up is whatever that 2.8%, if you make $1,000, that's $28. They cannot raise your health insurance more than $28. You can never get less, you always get the same or more.
Well, that's not.
So I don't know where you're getting your numbers from, but
But
That's
that's not
federal
what's
law.
happening on my thing. I realize it may be federal law, but when you look at what I get from Social Security, it's, okay. And then you combine
I'm only
that.
talking your Medicare portion. Now, if you have an Advantage or some other plan that you buy in addition to that, there's no control by any government agency over that. That's separate insurance, if you will. It's either called secondary or supplemental.
Supplement.
And I can sympathize with that because I'm with the federal government. That lady standing there's gonna talk next is, and my health insurance went up $56 this year. How much did yours go up, Joan?
I have no idea. I just paid.
You're afraid to look.
I'm not right
I know.
It didn't go up much.
So that's all. Yeah.
let me just ask you one question before you break. We have a pretty aggressive outreach to our seniors.
You what?
Aggressive outreach to our seniors we've had both here and in North Syracuse, and maybe you've attended some of the senior meetings. Are you aware of some of the programs that we support and sponsor for our seniors? I mean, are you taking advantage of some of the tax things?
I was looking through the budget, which I.
Would you call me tomorrow?
Sure.
Because there's some things that we might be able to help you with.
But I should call it Friday.
Call me Friday. I'm here all day. The afternoon will be better on Friday. Okay? Call me, and I want to talk to you and about some of the things that may be available to you that we support here in the town of Cicero. Okay?
We have programs, state and federal programs, things like heat assistance for payments.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand all of that.
Yeah.
And there's programs to help you with, home repairs and all of that stuff.
Well,
I don't know if you're aware.
I'm aware of most of the, a lot of things, not
Oh.
specifically.
Call me if there's
So
something that you
that's,
missed.
but that's not what my statements were, just, it seems to me that if the first 2 or 3 pages, and I looked through scanned through 42 pages, are correct, there's a big increase in what we're spending. And it's gonna have to come from somewhere. And I don't think it's gonna be just $2 a deal, although I have to trust that you know numbers better than I do. But it begs my imagination, so that's what I was making, that's my call.
Call us tomorrow. Come and see me. Call me. We'll talk to you. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay. Ms. Kessel.
John Snyder, Long Mill Road. I understand her grief, I understand the problem that she has. I've been working with the budget, looking at the numbers for probably, 6 years now. We gotta remember that the percentage that she got excited about is true. When you look at something like the fund balance, and we take 200 last year and 300 this year, then there's a 100% increase in what we took. So that number looks terrible, but the number that I seem to love is the number at the bottom. And when Shirley tells me it's 28 cents per $1,000 value of my house, I can understand that. Now, I, of course, am involved with the building, so therefore, I know where a lot of money's coming from. A lot of the money this year is coming from our fund balance. It's coming from the economy that you all have done for the last number of years. We know we can't sustain that. One of the questions she asked, and again, because of knowledge that I have, she said, will there be a tax decrease after the second year with this $700,000? Well, we don't know that, because the other thing we're sitting at, and Jonathan Karp and I have already been involved in this, we know we need a different court setup. Our court setup is a disaster. If any of you want to come to court and watch what goes on, and watch the inaccuracies that the individuals have, not because of the judges, but because of the courtroom space and the room they have to talk to clients.
We're not in compliance with New York State law.
So that money, yeah, so that money that we are spending for 2 years to get the building totally enclosed may have to be used for some solution to that court thing. And I'm saying it now because it could happen. There was a proposal, there is a proposal, we own enough land at the site to build another town hall. I don't think we'll see a town hall replaced in my lifetime. And granted, I'm an old guy, but I probably still have 20 or 30 years to go.
Oh.
But we do know that the courts are something that we're being cited for. Jonathan and I know we've got to fix it. Right now, we're trying to fix one thing at a time. Right now, we're fixing the highway garage. And you'll see later some exciting news about the garage when we get to the end of it.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Kessel, were you former Supervisor Kessel? You were patient up there, you were cut down.
We talk so much about so many things that I'm not sure why I'm coming up here. I do.
But you're welcome.
One thing, one question. I'm going to ask Shirley, tell us exactly what Mark's percentage increase is going to be for his salary,
He's gone from 50,000 to 57,000.
total. And is that what was asked for?
Was that asked for? Yes.
Okay, all right. Question I have, or a statement I'd like to make, I was trying to follow the highway garage. I would have assumed that when the proposal and the numbers came from all the experts that told you how much it was going to cost, that they would have taken into consideration a percentage increase of materials, delays, everything. Did you make a statement that they told you it was going to be $1 million increase?
I did.
But you didn't believe that?
No, I didn't because, well, first of all, that's not my forte.
Well, it's their forte.
It is, but I just,
You
I
wouldn't
thought it was
have been doing
hot. It's
it.
like, wow, $1 million for 1 year?
Well,
I just thought that was,
they were right, correct?
they were right.
They were right, and you were wrong.
I was wrong.
My question is, were you hesitant to put that $1 million into the total cost? Were you concerned that it might not go through at this time? Why didn't you believe them?
Well, here was my concern, and I'll pick up on what it was. The highway garage is more than a highway garage.
We know all that.
No.
Just-
But you asked me a question, I'm gonna do my best to answer it for you. So please allow me to do that. It's public safety. Every road that we drive on, and you drive on tonight, with the exception of the state roads and some county roads, are maintained by the men and women of our highway department. And while you're sleeping, they're working. When it snows, they work.
Yeah, I know, they raised me.
You were here.
The highway raised me.
Right.
They fed me.
So you
They
know.
clothed me.
Here's the, when we had, not me, we, because we had a special town board meeting, and we invited the public. Unfortunately, a handful of people came. And the engineers stood here and they told us what shape the building was in, and they wanted to use the word condemn, but we didn't like the word condemn, but I mean, that's how serious it was. If that building, so we made a decision to say, all right, we need the building, it's not discretionary, we need it, and we need to do this. We made them redesign the building, it took us a year, because the first building we felt was too expensive.
Taj Mahal.
Well,
Lafayette.
no, you know what, someone says Taj Mahal.
It was in Lafayette. You went, the former
We went looked
supervisor
other
went to Lafayette.
We
That's
all-
what she wanted for a highway garage.
Okay, but I said no, and this board said no, right? So we had them redesign the building. But here's the thing, and I checked with Town of Clay. I said, if we don't have a highway garage, and I went to Town of Clay, I said, can we use your old highway? You know, where do we put the highway people?
That's not what I'm saying.
No, but
I'm saying if you were
asked me what
told
was going
that
through my
an
mind.
increase of $1 million,
It
and
could
now
be $1
you're
million.
going for 1.4,
It turned out to be 1.4.
why didn't you believe the experts? Why didn't the people that were coming
It
up
just-
with the
it just-
design?
I answered
Bill,
that
if I'm
question.
going to build a house, I know that the cost of materials and labor is
Okay,
going to
well,
increase.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you can't.
but we had increases, talking numbers, we had increases that couldn't have been anticipated. I don't think anybody thought that we were gonna have the tariff war with steel that we have, and the steel was going up 40%.
But everything's possibility.
But if you looked at the
Well, we're
last
not
20
sensitive.
years, the average increase of steel year over year, it was less than 3%.
Okay, I know I'm not gonna win that discussion.
No, no,
Let me go on to the 36,000 that you say was the cost of a referendum.
Yeah.
You had promised that there would be a mandatory that there would be a referendum.
Yeah, we thought.
And you didn't, and you didn't
No, I
have
didn't.
one.
No.
So
No,
a
we
group of
didn't.
concerned,
Not me, we didn't.
you're the leader.
Okay, but we're the board. So
You are
we
one
made
of 5
collective-
people in a decision, so the rest of them.
We had to build a highway garage. We looked at the costs, the anticipated costs of the building. You elect people, you were elected to make decisions on behalf of people.
I
You
was
get
one
into-
of 5 people.
Right, but, and the vote was taken by 5 people. So, when the board looked at all of the information that was presented to us, when we sliced and diced it and got into the weeds, we felt as a business decision, the right thing to do, because we felt the building had to be built. And actually, the people in this town agreed with us, because they passed the referendum. But we felt that we could pick up a year, save the $1 million, that I didn't believe it was gonna be $1 million, but it turned out to be 1.4, that we could save you $1 million and get a jump on that building by approving a building that the people realized we needed to build anyway. That was our thought.
$36,000 for a referendum that
Yeah.
was requested by people that signed petitions.
And we
Was a
gave it,
minuscule amount of money compared to
it's a lot
1.4
of money,
million.
it's a lot of money to me, but yeah, go ahead.
It was minuscule compared to the 1.4 that you now need. The thing was, you didn't even have to spend 36,000. If you went to the Board of Elections and said, how much is a referendum gonna cost? They're not gonna tell you 36,000.
Our board of referendum, our board of
Okay, tell us.
next person is here.
They're not going to tell you it's gonna cost, I know, okay, $36,000.
That's what it cost us.
But the board chose to publicize, to buy lighted signs, to do all.
We had to, Mrs.
It
Kessler,
was a campaign.
we made a decision. You don't agree with the decision.
I
I'm not
don't
gonna argue
agree with
with
the
you.
decision.
because
Don't
you're
blame
being contradictory. Not blaming anybody.
On
You're
the
blaming.
people that carried the petitions. You've said that
I'm
over
not,
and
no,
over
no, but
and
I
over
want,
again.
I wanted, it's important for people to understand that that building, by putting it off a year, cost you $1.4 million. We could have saved $1.4 million.
But also, you could have followed the advice of the experts. And listen, I know you couldn't do it 100%.
She wasn't here, okay,
Which
but
I'm not
Mrs.
going to my
Boyd
buddy Dick here.
Okay, but you know what, we made a decision, that's what you elected us to do. We made a decision, we felt it was in the best interest of the town of Cicero. We did put it to a
It
referendum.
wasn't. You're never gonna
Okay,
convince anybody.
that's opinion, that's your opinion. So next thing.
Okay. So, the cost of that override is not the fault of.
No one's blaming anybody, I'm just telling you what the cost
I've
was.
heard it a few times. I heard
Okay.
it somewhere.
But I'm telling you what the cost was, that's not blame, that's the fact. So how is that blame? If I tell you the truth and tell you what the number is, that's not blame. I'm telling you what the cost was, that's fact.
It's nobody's fault. If
I'm not blaming you.
If a referendum had been conducted, when you promised that it would
Okay,
be.
that's your opinion, but okay, and maybe that would have been true. And thank you for that opinion. But yes, we felt differently at the time.
All right, okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I'm done.
No, that's okay,
Right now,
that's all right. That's okay, thank you so much for your input. Former Supervisor Kaczynski.
How much were the sewers that cost that you're putting in right now? How much was it?
The sewers
Yeah. You're putting the sewer line in, aren't you?
for,
For the highway garage.
yeah, that was part of the project, $300,000.
300,000, was that included in the 1.4 overall?
No, that was included in the original cost.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know, there's this rumor floating around, there was Jody.
Well, rumors-
Judy, what are you nodding your head no for?
It was after the original, from my understanding, was a septic system. That was the last I knew.
What was it? Septic or sewer or
Yes.
what?
We looked at both.
What
It was included in the contingent, we had enough money built into the original proposal. And Don, if you want to speak to this too, because you were a big part of the budget in doing this. We built, was it 8% down into the contingency is what they built into it? 8% of the total project. So there was enough money, then Don's going to answer the question for you. There was enough money there to build the
Just want
sewer.
to check this. The money for the sewer, which is I think closer to 350, did come out of our total budget. So the 1.4 million, you really would have to say yes, but the 1.4 million isn't covering the sewer. We already had it covered in in the number that we gave.
In the prior number?
The original.
Prior number.
The original 10 to 9.8.
So the sewers are not being paid out of the 1.4 overall?
No.
Okay.
That's why the 1.4 is literally the numbers, $400,000 basically for the steel, $400,000 for the labor, and then there were two other items that we underestimated as a team. That was the generator and the fuel oil. I estimated the fuel oil at, let's say it was $250,000, it came in at $350,000. But we also decided, when we did that, we decided to have gas and diesel, so all of our people could get fuel at our site, and we could control that. So, but that's how that went down.
Okay.
The sewer is covered.
But Judy, why are you shaking your head? No, I don't understand it. He's saying one thing, you're saying another. Which way is it?
Because I've not been involved in all of the meetings, I really can't speak to it other than, in the beginning, it was my understanding that they had to go out after. Where the money came from, I have no idea because I've not been a part of it. But I know that sewers in the beginning were not, from my understanding, part of the original proposal.
That's what I heard too.
We looked at two things.
One place.
We looked at two things and we made a team decision. We looked at a septic system and where that is, and because of the topography and because of the, and Don pipe in where if I missed something.
It's called a raised bed.
Raised bed system, right? When we looked at that, there was two issues with it. The major issue is that, and I don't make these rules up, but DEC makes the rules up, right? Because we had decided that we were going to put a vehicle wash into this building. We were going to be able to wash the brine off of our buildings.
You took perm tests and things of that sort, didn't you, before you made the decision?
I don't. I talk to the engineers. The engineers tell us, I'm not an expert on this stuff, so I have to listen to them, right? So, and we have to listen to them, and the building committee listened to them. It was a joint decision. It was not one person. It was a joint decision to do this, including our highway superintendent. But when we looked at that, and I'm sorry to hold the rest of you guys up, but I'll kind of shed some light on this. When we wash the vehicles, and I don't know how many gallons of water a day in the wintertime we would use, but that is, and I don't make this stuff up, this is DEC. If it goes into a septic tank, not an underground because of the lower layer of rock, but a raised bed system, when that tank is empty, it's considered hazardous material. So we have to have a hazardous material hauler pump that tank. And correct me where I'm wrong, Chris, Don, and Don. But we figured in the wintertime, we could pump that tank, how many times a month?
I don't remember the number, it was a lot.
It was a lot. Okay, I can't give you an exact number, Mr. Supervisor, but the cost, when we looked at the cost of doing that, pumping it as hazmat, I think it's what, about $2,000 a pump? So we could be pumping that, it's safe to say, you guys, twice a month?
No, it would be more.
More than twice a month. So the cost of pumping that tank as hazardous material, and just to tell everybody, there's an oil-water separator in that building. So, the trucks leak, oil, gas, whatever, and there's a system in there that separates the water from the hazardous material, the oil, whatever, and all that stuff. That all goes into a septic tank. It's all hazardous material. Now, according to the DEC, and what the engineers told us, if it goes into a sewer system out of the oil water separator, it's not hazardous material. Makes no sense. I don't understand it. So when we looked at the dollars and cents and the cost over the long term, it made sense for us to run an 8-inch sewer line for that building. And the cost, Don corrected me, I'm sorry, it was $350,000. That was included in the total $9.8 million cost.
And as far as, I take offense to the comments that you've made in the past in regards to the referendum. Under my administration, we wouldn't even question about if we would or would not do it. It would have been done. It's only fair to the taxpayers of this town to have an opportunity to spend, especially $11, $12 million now on a building.
Yeah.
We're not talking 11, 12 bucks. As you said, you're supposed to be conscious about how much money we're spending here. It's ridiculous. And the thing that really bothers me is when you retaliate against people that carry those petitions. You know exactly what I'm talking
No,
about.
I don't.
Oh,
I
yes,
don't
you do.
understand. If you're gonna lever, first of all, let me just say this. I do not accept personal attacks. If you have an issue with me, Mr. Supervisor,
That's-
come and see me. And you and I can talk, but I do not allow personal attacks. There's been no
I'm
retaliation.
not talking to you one-on-one. I tried that once, and you
Yeah, I
tried to
know.
browbeat me over lunch.
Browbeat you, nothing.
Don't sit there and lie to me.
I don't lie, sir.
No?
No.
Oh, yes, you do.
You're out
You'll
of
be-
order. Sit down. You're out of
Mr.
order.
Attorney, that's the issue I talked to you about, and I will be in touch tomorrow. Retaliation and discrimination for carrying a petition so that we can vote on a $10
There's
million
been none.
building.
There was nothing against anybody.
We'll see.
All right, well, good. Bring it on.
Well, federal
Anyone
government will be
else?
helping me on that one.
Good.
Let me clear up.
You're out of order.
As we
Yes.
were sitting there and I was listening to Judy's comments and yours, I think we made a mistake. When you look at the original number, which was over $11 million, we had a separate line item for sewers. When we put the lower package together, we made a mistake. And it was not a line item in there for sewers, but it was still a responsibility of the project to pay for it. So if you look at our original estimate and the estimate that we were working with, that we signed the agreement on, it did not have sewers as a line item, but we knew sewers was a problem. So that's why that happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ralph, you guys are out of here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
One thing I'd like to say, Ralph Howe, I'm chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners for Cicero Fire District. Just want to thank the board. This was probably one of the easiest budgets we've ever put together. Thank you. I've reached out to Judy, Mark, Dick, had conversations with all of you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Very simple. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Thank you for your service, Ralph.
On a personal note, like I've said to many boards before, anything people in the town care about, they can't tell you if the fire department's paid or volunteer. All they care about is that a fire truck shows up, that the police department shows up, and that the roads are plowed. So far, you guys are taking care of all of it, so thank you.
Thank you for your service.
One other thing, everybody wants to talk about steel going up, the tariff, and everything else. People forget now that's American steel, and that's American jobs. That's all I'm saying.
Can't knock that.
American jobs.
Anyone else before we close the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes, please. 2 more.
Maybe.
Long time no see. First of all, I think that the fire department should be paid. Somebody comes running into my house and it's burning down, they deserve some money. I want to start by telling you, I do not mind paying my town and county taxes. I understand that if I want services, I must pay for them. I do find that it is unconscionable that a member of the town board can vote himself a 14% pay raise while giving everyone else 2%. As elected officials, each of you knew what the pay rate was when you were in for office. At the budget meeting, workshop, one member of the board said he had thought, or she had thought, that the increases would be incremental. $7,000 is not incremental. Good people have run for and won elected office in this town. None of this budget, as is, shows little regard for the taxpayers. Also, there is approximately $2 million in this budget allotted to the police department. Would it now make sense to let the people decide if they even want a police department? If the people vote yes to keep it, then it's a moot issue. And no one can complain at least about that part of the budget. And I want to remind you, Mr. Vineski, that in the spring of 2013, right in this aisle, I asked you if you would support a police referendum. You said you would, and that we should have more referenda. A referendum would help settle this budget issue. Okay. Now, the next point I want to make is a readable budget. We have talked about readable budgets for several years in this town. I think we even discussed it in the Committee for Open Government that you and I served on. That budget should be made readily available, right on the website, along with the budget that's up there now. We should not have to call the comptroller and ask her or her deputy to provide that to us. It should be in the name of transparency, it should be automatic.
Yep.
I have a lot of other things I would like to say, but they're not applicable to the budget. Thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close? Yes, sir. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Councilor Boyd, I think earlier when you were discussing the sewage issue, you said you weren't involved in certain meetings. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I'm just confused. I thought you guys all got together as a board, made decisions as a team, which is something that Supervisor Vineski has said repeatedly. Are there meetings that you've been excluded from?
Well, it is the highway project, new building project, and they do meet, I think, every week or every other week, I'm not sure. But no, other than one I was invited to personally, no, I have not been privy to notes or anything, no.
Okay, so you haven't been excluded from any meetings then? Because I thought that you had, based on what you
Well,
said.
I haven't since the first one. That was the only one that I was brought.
So there was a meeting that you were excluded from?
Oh,
That was-
there's been several.
And have we passed that by legal?
Yeah. There's an open meetings law.
Okay,
So no more than two of us can meet on a subject.
Yeah.
Counselor Conway is the liaison to the highway department, and the new highway department is going to be named after Counselor Conway. So he has attended
congratulations on that.
those meetings, yes. So I can't have, unless we do a public workshop, we can't have every board member there.
But isn't that public, now that he mentions that?
The meetings are public, they just can't speak.
Well, I wouldn't.
Well,
want to
actually,
see
we've
what-
had building meetings, I don't know. I mean, because we met with the contractors.
So the four of you haven't had separate meetings about town business that have excluded Councilor Boyke?
No.
Okay. A couple of issues I wanted to raise about the budget. There's a $10,000 increase with respect to what we're paying our attorneys, who I'm sure are excellent. What's that about?
What do you mean, what is it about?
Why are we paying an additional $10,000? That's a 20% increase over the previous year. Why are we paying them $10,000?
No, it's 10%. Actually, the board voted on that, and they contemplated.
Okay, that's not the question that I asked.
No, I understand.
It's 50, it's going up by $10,000.
To answer your question,
All right, well,
if you take a look at, here's my thought, and I'll tell you right straight up. I'm always I try to be very straight in everything I say. I'm not going to be here forever. We had, if you take a look at the market, the increase of the supervisor, this is a full-time job, not a part-time job. We have and people might argue, we have the second largest town in Onondaga County. We have 30.
I'm talking specifically about the attorneys, not about your
Oh,
salary.
you're talking about the attorney's salary?
Yeah, the attorneys went up $10,000 in the proposed budget for next year.
Oh, you mean our
I'm wondering
budget
what that,
line?
yeah, what that contractual obligation is.
I'll tell you, and then Shirley will fill in. We have a lot of lawsuits against the town of Cicero. We do. And they cost us a lot of money. We're in a loss, and we also have some labor issues. We just went through an arbitration. We have to pay the arbitrator. We have to pay the attorneys to attend these things. We had some issues with a labor contract with the retiree benefits because our thought was they were unsustainable. So we took them to arbitration. So there's costs that come in, and we have, I don't know, Shirley, you want to expound on that?
You said exactly.
Exactly. I mean, unfortunately, we have labor and we have people who sue the town of Cicero, I think, frivolously sometimes, but it's an expense we have to bear.
I would like to correct the record on one thing, though, because you asked the supervisor if the four of us, I assume you mean the four, starting with Mr. Cushman and ending with me, ever met individually.
Yes.
The open meetings law, the members of one political party are allowed to meet for any purpose whatsoever in the form of a caucus. That is an exception to the open meetings law.
Okay.
And we have held
So the
caucuses.
four of you have caucused separately from,
Correct, as we're allowed to by law. But because he
Okay.
said no, and I don't think it was his intention to mislead,
Yeah,
I
it's
wanted to
not
correct the record to make sure that I was putting that out there. And if you check the open meetings law, that is perfectly legal.
okay. Yeah, is it, whether or not it's legal is one issue. Is it a good idea to be excluding a member of that's supposed to be representing us?
It would be difficult for the.
I mean, shouldn't the four of you work with the one Democrat on the board?
It has nothing
Why,
to do with
it has nothing to do with working together or not working together. In fact, it's a common practice, if you were going to go to the courthouse, you would see, I don't know what floor it's on, because I'm not on the county ledge, the county legislature has a Democratic caucus room and a Republican caucus room. It doesn't
That's fine for a
it doesn't
major-
mean that we don't work together.
Okay, So you think it's fine to be meeting separately? I understand.
No, you're putting words in our mouth, so let me correct
I'm saying, yes, I'm saying under certain circumstances, it is acceptable for the members of the party. If there were 2 Democrats, or 3 Democrats on the board, I would think the same thing for them. I mean, what's fair?
And I would like to remind you
Okay.
that Councilor Boyke accused this board of having illegal meetings on a regular basis, right? So if you, I'm just telling you, it's record, it's fact.
Councilor Boyke, would you like to respond?
It is. So, occasionally we have met, but if you come in here at
I
6
believe
o'clock.
Councilor Boyke is attempting to respond to.
No, I understand that, but let me just finish my point before I'm interrupted.
Is she not allowed to respond?
She is.
Okay.
May I finish my thought please, before
Go
she
right
responds? Thank you. What you'll find in here is if you come in here at 6 o'clock at night, is Mrs. Boyke, Councilor Boyke, is sitting with the rest of the board in that room. Is that an illegal meeting? Is she being excluded? I don't know. I don't think so.
I sat there
No, I-
on my own because I chose to do that. I was
Okay.
not there tonight.
So no one's
Let me
excluded.
speak,
Please do.
please. If this board were to hold a workshop and it make it public regardless, I had several workshops when I was a supervisor. Nobody but Deborah Gardner once in a while showed up. Thank you, Deborah. But that is legal. All you have to do is publicize it, that there is a workshop prior to our board meeting at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And then I and all of us can sit together and discuss all of the business of the town legally. That's all I ask. Thank you.
I would like to make my point because I got cut off, not intentionally. I think that you're making.
I didn't cut you off.
No, I just, I don't think that it is factually accurate for you to imply
I
that.
haven't implied anything, I'm just asking a question.
Are you a resident
I thought
of
you
the town of
said-
Cicero?
I am, 8890 Honeycomb Path,
There you
Nate
go.
Riley.
All right,
It's a shame that this is the first time I'm meeting you.
It is.
I think it's unfortunate to imply that because a group of members of
Again, I
the
didn't
party.
imply, I asked a question.
Would you, okay, I haven't interrupted you, I appreciate if you're not interrupting.
Okay.
The fact that that members of a body of a certain political party may meet together exclusively does not necessarily mean, as you suggested, that they are not working with a member of another political party. It's simply how our process and what is essentially a de facto two-party system functions. So you may think it's wrong or immoral or whatever, and I respect your opinion on that, but I don't think it's accurate to suggest that that in and of itself means that we are not working with a member of another party. I'm
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off. because you
No,
said that was cutting you
I
off.
appreciate that.
The IT that we're paying there's an increase of $7,174 for computer/IT. It's on page 7 of the budget. I'm just wondering what we're getting for that.
The town is on a schedule every 5 years. We change out the PCs in the town.
Okay.
And we are at 5 years and everyone's getting a new computer.
So we haven't had an increase in the last 5 years?
No. It's an annual thing, an annual program, replacement computers.
I can't
I don't
hear
think
you,
it- did it
Shirley, I
go up?
cannot hear you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, it did go up next year. It's projected by BOCES, we have a regular schedule, so it does go up.
BOCES does our IT.
Oh, and then I guess, just again, so I don't want to belabor the point too much, but the increase for you, as I calculated, I think earlier you said $7,000, somebody else said something else. I calculated $7,710 is the increase
No.
Yes.
for the upcoming year.
7,000, I think. I don't know. 7,000.
Okay, for the supervisor. And each of the counselors are getting an increase of how much, Counselor Carson?
2%.
2%, which works out to how many dollars? Is
I
that-
don't have that in front of
You
me.
don't know.
Ms. Stewart?
Do you guys, so, but you guys are getting roughly, the supervisor's receiving roughly a 4 to 4.5 times as much of an increase? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So does the supervisor work 4.5 times as hard as the rest of you?
Yeah. Well, we have.
Councilor Bucky says no.
No.
Councilor Cushman says yes, it seems.
Well, that's a full-time job.
Okay,
Council positions are a part-time job,
okay.
okay? We're here 2 meetings a month, he's here 50
50
hours a week.
Plus weekends, all the events that I represent.
And that's all for the honor of being called the town supervisor, right? I mean,
Well, yeah.
It's an honor in and of itself to have that title.
I've had my career. I'm doing this because I want to do it, okay? But here's my thought, long-term planning.
but you need the additional
I
77.
understand that the increase will benefit me this year, it's gonna benefit the next supervisors. we have, if you
Which will be
take,
you after you get reelected next.
well, if I choose to
spring.
run,
Okay.
okay? But
That's a
any-
doubt?
Well, it could be, but all I'm saying is this, I've had my career. This is my giving back to the community, what we've done the last 3 years, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished.
Wait,
And I will be
hold on.
happy, no.
Did you say 7710 increase to you, is you giving back to it?
No, I'm gonna tell you
Don't
what,
those tax dollars
I'm gonna tell you what it is. I came from, I don't know what you make, but if you are going to,
I work for legal aid, so not much.
all right, okay. Here's the reality of the job. It's a full-time position, not part-time.
Yeah.
The increase brings the supervisor's salary to the low end of supervisor salaries. I'm going to paint a picture for you. We have a $14.5 million budget. We have 100 full-time employees, and we have another 50 seasonal employees at any time, so 150 people. We have 5 departments, if you take a look at what the job entails, and I do, because I run this as I did at UPS, okay? When you take a look at the commitment that's involved, my thought is that if we are going to get people like you, smart people, to want to run for this job, you have to be able to compensate the person or make the job that at least financially in the realm rather of reality, okay? Chick-fil-A that we brought here this year was not an accident. Chick-fil-A pays their assistant manager $60,000.
Thank you guys for that, by the way, it's delicious, I love it.
Thank you. And that wasn't an accident. And we were the first in upstate New York. That wasn't an accident either. But Jimmer Sikowski, who runs the franchise there, he's paying his assistant manager $60,000. You know, we not only looked at the supervisor's salary, because when I'm gone, I want good people who have the skills to manage a this is just my thought, a $14.5 million budget and 100 to 150 employees, and manage them effectively with safety, with compliance with New York State laws, with regulations. We've done, I'll talk to you for 2 hours offline about what we have accomplished in the last 3 years. So my thought was, and our thought was, is to move the supervisor's salary to a level where someone that might attract a wider audience to want to run for this job. I'm retired. I'm on a pension from UPS. They were a great company. I'm doing this because I want to, not because I have to. My wife questions my sanity sometimes. But everything that we have done, from our rezoning, which we're not done yet, to our health and safety policy, which is state renowned, I don't know if you know that, we are a model now for New York State. From the outreach that we've done for our seniors and our veterans, we have been a leader in Onondaga County. That's not us talking, that's fact. So if you want to continue that level of, my thought was is that I want to attract smart people like you. I want to attract people.
It's surprising that you said that, I appreciate that.
Thank you, but I want to attract.
It sounds like an endorsement from Supervisor Burnett.
Well, you know, it could be, come and see me. So at any rate, but I just want to make the job, we want to make the job more attractive so that the town, you know, I look at sustainability after we're gone. We're not going to be here forever. And I've already had my career. I'm doing this because I want to do it. And how much longer I want to do it, I'm not going to answer you tonight. But this is, my career is done. You know, this is because I wanted to get back. So, but I want a bigger pool of people, hopefully, to run for this office when I leave. That was my thought.
I thank you for the respectful conversation.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but we were all full-time supervisors.
That's correct.
We worked more than 40 hours a week. When I came here, I made $28,000 a year because the people before me would never take a raise. And that was a campaign tactic. When Chet was here, because I'm speaking because you won't allow him to speak. Well, then why don't we invite him back
Because
up?
I'm not going to have personal attacks. We don't address personal attacks of people here.
We brought things into this town like Wegmans, Home Depot, Cracker Barrel. We were the second Cracker Barrel in New York State. We didn't have tax increases. We worked, Chet has, in here has, I can't even tell you, 16 years of experience sitting up there and making decisions. We weren't of the same party,
Okay.
but we
How
worked
does that
together.
apply to the budget? Because we're running on, we have a.
But I'm just telling you, you're insulting us when you say you are a full-time. Every one of us were full-time.
Okay.
And town board
I
people,
don't mean to
I
insult.
read somewhere recently that they meet, you guys are only here twice a month. Well, that's not true, because you're spending a lot of time, not just as a liaison, but learning and listening if you choose to share information. So don't insult us. We gave a lot of our lives right here. And Chet was here, Vernon was here with me every inch of the way.
If you have been insulted, I apologize to you sincerely, because there's no intent to insult anybody. All right, we want to wrap this thing up. So anyone else on the budget before we move on? Thank you. We have a long meeting tonight, so.
Actually, it's only been about an hour and 10 minutes we've been making this sausage.
There you go.
It's not a pretty process, but usually it tastes pretty good when you get done.
I hope it does.
If I may, before I mention my Tom Blue 6121 Palm Summit Circle, before I mention my budget issues, I think we got off the rails someplace on this, on a lot of the discussion. I've been doing this for about 18 years. I've sat through a lot of budget processes. I think when it comes to pay raises, I go back when Tom Young was mayor of the city of Syracuse, Armin Magnarelli was president of council. I served on a blue ribbon committee for raises for elected officials. You need to have people in this community besides yourself determine what your salary should be, because it just doesn't sit right with most people. And it's been a big part of this discussion tonight. And there's a lot bigger numbers in this budget than your salary. And I think we're missing that. These young Boy Scouts that are here tonight, I appreciate them being here. I was in scouting at some of the best times in my life. But I ask myself, and I would ask you, what's their future going to be like with the cost of living in New York State? I know we raise taxes in an insignificant way compared to the state, the county, so on, and the school taxes. Are we going to give them an opportunity to want to stay here, or are we going to be sending them back into a different state in another 5 or 10 years when they can make that decision themselves? Some of the things I see in this budget, I've seen a few times in the past. I know I asked Shirley tonight, this lady brought up the question about there's a lot of information in here and I wonder if I'm getting it all. I didn't see the fund balance listed any place. I think we got 40-something pages of budget, and I think you mentioned it might be 4.5 million. I shared with some of the counselors a chart that Shirley put together several years ago. We've been carrying a fund balance of 4.3, 4.7. We got down to 2.6 in 2015. And perhaps the people out here that are paying their taxes need to know that that's a confiscation of our wealth by our elected officials, this government, because you're taking more money than you need to spend and you're holding it in a balance, and we don't have use of that money. We could be paying medical insurance and other costs that we find that we can spend our money better than you can. And we go through this year after year. I understand what the Moody's and other credit companies are looking for. And I know we've thrown these numbers out over the last 15 years. They're looking at a 15% fund balance minimum, which would mean you should be holding $2 million of our money in balance. So they're comfortable in knowing that your credit rating is going to stay strong because you've got some money to fall back on and spend. This year, we're going to be spending $1.575 million of the fund balance. Now, our budget has gone up almost $2 million since 15, and I believe, if I'm right, this number shows 10.18 additional funding this year in raised taxes. However,
can I correct one figure? And
go ahead.
Shirley, go ahead. First of all, the budget, unless Shirley correct me, former town boards weren't showing you the whole budget. They were. I'm just.
Supervisor, how can we're assuming things yes or no, but we don't have that in front of us right now.
I know that, but
Okay.
you said that we've raised taxes $2 million, and I'm going to take issue with that, since 2015. What you saw you saw budgets that, of about $12.8 million. And then the town went down, right? If you look at the numbers, the town went and bonded to make up the daily spending. So we were actually spending close to 14 million, but the public was being shown 12.8.
But who did that? It's pretty much the same board, except for Ms. Boyd. You're saying a couple years ago, is that correct?
You're talking 2015. I was a new member of the board in 2015. Vern was here, I don't think Dick was here, John wasn't here, and Mrs. Boyd wasn't here.
All right.
So yeah, we didn't raise taxes $2 million since 2015.
All right.
We're showing you the money that is being spent.
I can't talk right now, I'll call you.
But at this point in time, with what we're raising it now, and then if we take the 1.575 from the fund balance,
I'll call you back.
that's 11%. That's a 21% increase, I won't call it a tax increase, an increase of overall spending this year, because you're applying the fund balance plus what we're raising in revenues, and it'll be 21%.
We have, Mr. Blue, we have expenses. In the 3 years since you elected me supervisor and this board, you supported the board, I think you supported every board member on this board.
Yes, we did.
No one has come and said, let's cut the Parks and Rec program. If the public decides that they want to make the cuts, we'll cut. But, and no one has said that we won't do that or entertain it. I'm not here to serve me, and I think the board members will say that they're not here to serve themselves. We're here to serve you. So if the public says, cut Parks and Rec, and we don't want to have a senior center, we don't want to have a canteen, canteen's pretty much self-sufficient. If we don't want to have Little League Baseball, if we don't want to have programs for Pop Warner football, if we don't want to have a police department, if we don't want to have these things, then come and tell us.
I don't think
But I don't have anybody here who's told me, oh, no,
I don't think they're saying that. But what
Okay.
we're looking at is we have an increased debt service because we're going to be putting the highway funding into the budget now. Am I correct? We're not going to be.
Only for this year we're looking at, because
Just
of
the
the
one year?
$1.4 million overage that we, no one anticipated on the highway.
So we
project.
basically,
It's
we're
already been
doubling our debt this year to, I think the number was 1,194,000. And I'm not sure, Shirley, I wrote a number down, you had, I think you said 1,876,000. I'm not sure exactly what
That's the
that.
payment out of the budget.
That's the payment,
For
okay.
the interest and
All right.
principal payments.
All right. No one wants to cut these programs, but the other thing we forget and we don't look at, some of the big numbers in this budget, the cost of operating this government continues to get larger year by year. Medical and dental, $600,000 in this budget.
We don't control that.
New York State retirement, I'm not saying, but you gotta pay for it.
I understand.
That's the point. We're paying for it.
Right.
600,
And I'm with you.
New York State retirement, 225. The total benefit package this year in this budget is $1,283,000. As that incrementally grows larger, the service you can give us are going to diminish themselves, because unless you raise taxes significantly, the debt is going to be overwhelming and the government will not be able to sustain itself. So, you know, again, one thing, and I appreciate the wisdom of a guy like Ben Franklin. He said, if you really want to know the true value of money, try to borrow some, right? And our interest rate is going to continue to go up as the feds continue to raise the rates. So it's going to cost us more and more to pay the debt. And if we consider borrowing more money in the future, it's going to be much more expensive. So these are things we really have to take a look at. And again, I know there's things you have no control over, but they're built into the budget, and at some point down the road, if you want to try to maintain this government at this level, you're going to have to look at ways to be either more creative or cut some of your services. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it was nice to see the video with the steel going up. United
Thank you.
States steel on a building that I know people in this town will be proud of when it's finally up and running. And Vern, I'm very happy to know that your name's going to be on that building, because you've been a big part of this town for so many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Anyone else? Yes.
Talking about budget and cost, something stood out as far as.
Can't you talk into the microphone?
Is it necessary to hire an attorney at $250 an hour to review the FOILs? I mean, wasn't that something that we did here? I mean, is that even legal to send out?
Yes.
So it's legal with the state for you to go ahead, you're not doing it here anymore, what,
We're still doing it.
okay? but we're paying an attorney $250 an hour?
Yeah.
That's something that you can cut and stop?
Well,
I mean,
first of
that
all,
seems like-
let me just say this, okay? When it comes to foils, we get a lot of foils. And what happened was a lot, and a lot of them are people looking for, they want copies of their surveys, they want copies of their building plans, whatever. Okay? We had a situation here where we had one individual in this town who was foiling us on an almost daily basis with all sorts of stuff. The last foil that we received was directed and at a female. The female thought it was threatening. And other females who work here read that foil because they weren't just foils, but they were prefaced with comments. And that foil, which you can foil, I think you can foil it if you want. Other females in this building thought that the line was crossed and they were threatening. And the other issue that we had is because this person was flooding the clerk's office with FOIL requests, it was taking away from the productivity. Two things happened. The productivity in the clerk's office, because now it was becoming a full-time job, answering FOILs or trying to collect information about people's salaries, social security, even people who don't work here. Okay. The other thing is that then we began asking for FOIL requests and directing other people thought were threatening and pointed comments towards employees in this building. So it was affecting the morale and the productivity of this building. So we made a decision. We thought about it. How do we manage this? So what we did is we decided, okay, if foils come in, we will forward those foils. And here's another thing too. You know, we have great people here. And we have a terrific town clerk. And I'm not just saying it. I mean it. We have one of the best in the county. But when you're asking, sometimes, is everything that we're giving, do we have to legally give? And what was happening is it was causing a real bottleneck and a lot of phone calls to Albany, and it was causing a lot of phone calls to our attorney and bogging him down, who should be working on things like your drainage projects and easements. And it was a real bottleneck here. So the decision was made to send the FOIL requests to an attorney's office. An attorney will review them and then write the responses and let the town clerk's office know definitively, yes, this can be, no, this needs to be redacted, or whatever the case may be. I am going to say this. Since that decision was made, and not everybody on the board agreed together on this. You know how many FOIL requests we received from this individual who some of the women here found threatening? You know how many? And I'm not trying to be facetious, I'm telling you. 0. So we've stopped. So what's it costing us? Nothing. So far. Number 2, we've removed the threat. And in the environment that we live in today, we have a responsibility, everyone on this board. If any member, irregardless of their gender or whatever, their perceived gender, whatever it is, when they come and say, hey, I feel threatened by this, by law, we are required to act. Not want, but done. So the majority on the board voted to go ahead and do that, and so far the cost has been negligible, but I think the morale, the feeling of safety of especially some of the females, because the female was targeted, is improved in the public community. So yes. You're very welcome. Anyone else? Because I'm going to close the hearing. This is going on. We got a meeting.
I just want to know if these were men that had felt threatened, would you get taken into
Absolutely.
action?
Absolutely.
You should not be showing gender bias by talking
I'm
about
not.
female.
The new law is, and I'm not an expert in anything, and I'm going to, instead of bringing you up, well, I'm not, but we have an HR manager who is. And under Governor Cuomo's new sexual harassment policy, it doesn't matter if you are man, woman, or transgender.
So you should not be referring to the female.
Well,
Right. You should be referring to the employee.
Okay, well, it was an employee who happened to be female. Sorry for the,
It's
sorry
gender
that
bias,
offended
and
you.
part of it's.
It's not bias,
It
I'm
is.
just stating fact.
It is.
Sorry you find it.
People your age are like.
Anyway, well, I'm an old guy. Anyway, if that's it, I'm going to close the public hearing. I will now close the public hearing. Thank you. at 8:03, known as the annual budget for the town, per town law number 109. Need a second.
Second.
Any further board discussion?
Yes, and I'll be very brief and send this in nature. There's some money being spent and some policies I disagree with, including some policies I voted against, but my main concern with this is the amount of borrowing. I apologize, new microphone, I wasn't sure how close I had it. There's some money being spent in this budget on some policies I disagree with, some policies I voted against, but my main concern is the amount of borrowing, $1.3 million of non-anticipation note. I feel like that's a little bit too much. We should be taking more out of fund balance. I realize that might diminish our fund balance. It might affect our credit rating. My bigger concern is the amount of borrowing that we continue to accumulate. So I'm voting no.
Anyone else?
I'd like to also speak to it. I also had originally voted against a few of the increases that are in this budget. And I also agree that because these statements have been made that we would be paying cash, that we obviously, if we were to reduce our fund balance, that it would not affect our credit because we don't need it, because we're going to be paying cash. Therefore, I feel that with future spending, I think that we should tighten our belt and take a look at whether it be a nickel or whether it be $500, that it all comes out of our pocket. And cash or credit, it still comes out of our pocket because somebody's got to pay it back. So I will be voting no.
Anyone else? We have a second. Mrs. Costa.
Yes, Counselor Boyke.
No.
Counselor Cushman.
Yes.
Counselor Conway.
Yes.
Counselor Carr.
No.
And Supervisor Vineski.
Yes. Passed 3-2. Friends of the Canteen Gus Macker Tournament presentation. The Gus Macker Tournament was held at the Cicero North Syracuse High School on August 10th to the 12th, 2018. This was the 10th year of this local tournament. They raised funds for our canteen. It also has an economic impact to our town, and it brings in hundreds of players and thousands of fans to this community. We have tonight, microphone, thank you.
The Crown Jewels, they send a good crew in here every once in a while when they come, and they do a great job for us. It's hosted by the Friends of the Canteen, which is our fundraising arm. We truly do appreciate the board's support of this tournament. It's one of the largest events of the year that has direct economic impact for all the residents of the town. Now some great final specific statistics for the 2018 tournament, and I believe this is my ninth, so hopefully sooner or later I'll get it right. But, no, I'm kidding. We had 157 teams, which means there were about 630 players, all ages, 7 to 70, and I don't know how old the oldest one, but it's interesting. It's a lot of fun to see some 7- and 8-year-old kids get out there and play some really competitive basketball. It's great.
Excuse me, Mr. Hallapeter. Can we have one meeting, please? I'm sorry.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks for asking.
There were 102 volunteers, gave 1,373 hours of their time, estimated value of $33,900. Well, $34,000, that's why I wrote that number there. Estimated 5,000 spectators over the course of the weekend, creating an approximate, and this is according to the County Economic Development Board, approximately $250,000 of economic impact to the town once again this year. Folks descended upon our area using hotels, eating in local restaurants, gassing their cars, and picking up odds and ends at our local stores and shops. So, in addition to the canteen benefiting from the tournament, the community also receives a pretty good jolt. So it's helping the community as well. We showed a net profit of $19,661.46 for the Friends of the Canteen in which to serve the youth of our community. And I can tell you all about the kids, but if you really want to know how they benefit from it, ask one of them, and they'll tell you all about it. They know better than I do how they benefit from the canteen program. We're slowly building our sponsor base and are grateful for every dollar that we earn. As we look ahead to 2019, we will be celebrating 10 years of hosting the tournament in our community. Todd Caputo, the used car king, if that's the moniker he still uses, has graciously agreed to be a presenting sponsor once again, and we can't wait to see who else will be speaking with us as the year progresses. So we're really looking forward to the new year. Going off script, I'm just going to say that it's a great basketball tournament. Like I say, when you see some of these young kids competing, and by Sunday afternoon, it really gets competitive. They progress through it. They play a couple games Saturday, and if they keep winning, they keep playing. And they come back Sunday, and it gets pretty competitive. So it's a great tournament, but it's also become more than that. It's become a great community event. We get people from all over coming just to watch games and things like, the vendors that we have there and the different sponsors that are there. They pay attention to it. So on that, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone, including North Syracuse Central School District, for allowing us to use their facilities. So if anybody's got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
No questions, but I'd like to say that Jody and her group, and Tony, and the opportunity that I had, being the very first supervisor, to start off with the Gus Macker, and when the tournament started coming here. And it was Julie Riddell was so involved, and very great to see her again this year. But when those guys start setting up, I mean, the volunteers set up, and when originally they had to block off the street, and it was quite a process, including the people who set during the night as night watch over the course, because just to protect the equipment and all of that. There's more to it than people would ever know. But the fact that these kids, as you had mentioned, with the actual street basketball is what it is. That's why they're playing on the pavement. That's why they're the 3-on-3 or 3-on-1 or whatever it is. But anyway, it's a great program. We were in a panic, I believe, a couple of years ago because things were not looking up. But even the weather sucks in the beginning, and then we end up being so hot that you can't stand it. But regardless, thank you so much for all of your work in that, and everyone that participates. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And since you mentioned Jody and Tony, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. They both do a great job with the program, and I can't think of two better stewards of the money that we spend than those two. They do a wonderful job, and any money that we get coming in is well spent, and we get a lot of bang for our buck with it. So I thank them too. And we have a lot of good volunteers. Our youth board, we've got the Friends of the Canteen group, and all the volunteers. And an interesting thing about the canteen, a lot of people don't realize, is that anytime we do a function like that, we get an awful lot of the kids that, I don't like calling them kids, the young people that come through the program. They come back and help us out. And another amazing thing about the canteen that a lot of people don't realize is that there's a team board, and they make a lot of the rules, and they're very protective of the program because they know if they don't keep it up to par, it's going to go away. And they do a good job of governing themselves, and it's quite a thing to see. And then, like I say, when you see somebody that's progressed through the program for a few years, and then they go out, and, all of a sudden somebody would yell over to me from a counter or Wegmans or something like that and say, "Hey, Vinny," you turn around, you wonder who they are. And I wish I could remember all their names, but they do remember mine. And I've heard many people, say that, that we see them out in the community all the time. So a lot of good kids go through the program, and it's a wonderful, wonderful program.
Thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you. Councilor Boyke, Consolidated Sewer District.
Okay, the Consolidated Sewer District Contract Number 3, Oneida Park Sewer Improvements. Move for the adoption of a resolution to approve the contract drawings dated November 7, 2018, as prepared by O'Brien and Gear, that includes sanitary sewer improvements within the Brewerton wastewater treatment plant service area, and authorize advertisement for sealed bids. This work is being completed through receipt of $250,000 grant the town received from Onondaga County through the Save the Rain program. Sealed bids are to be received at the office of the town clerk until 11 a.m. on December 17, 2018.
Second.
Any board discussion? I do. I'll tell you what we're doing. We have a problem with infrastructure in the town of Cicero, and but addressed by supervisors in Toronto. We've carried that on. I got a call from the governor's office today, and Cicero was awarded, and I haven't talked to you yet, Steve. We applied for it, and we got an additional $70,000. Fix the sewer systems. We took a proactive approach to fix the sewers. We have a real problem in the Bridgeport and along Oneida Lake. So how many gallons of fresh water have we taken out in the last 2 years?
The one project we completed, that was almost 10 million gallons, so about 9.6 million gallons per year.
Yeah.
This project is estimated around 6 million gallons per year. And then the project you're referencing, I think, would be in addition to those numbers, so.
One of the problems that Onondaga County has, and I've had meetings with our new county executive, who I think is going to be very good. One of the problems that we have in Onondaga County is we don't have the infrastructure to grow, to attract business into Onondaga County. The big problem that we have is a lot of our pipes have been in the ground for over 50 years, and they're leaking. They're leaking, and we have fresh water, they call it I&I intrusion and whatever, infiltration into the sanitary sewers, which overwhelms the sewer plants. So we have taken a proactive approach here in the town of Cicero, and I think the county executive will tell you that again, we've been very proactive so that we don't have a solution forced upon us. But we're going to be taking more money out and repairing more sewer pipes as we can afford it and as the grants come to us that we apply for. Anyway, any other comments before we call it to a vote? All those in favor, please say, we had a second, right?
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you.
Move the adoption resolution to approve the lighting proposal for Orange Public Road, provided by National Grid to be included in the general fund streetlights. Second.
Second. We had and I'll just comment on this if anyone else do. It's a safety issue on Orangeport Road over the railroad tracks. The residents came to actually me and said, we have a safety issue, will the town please address it? So we went to National Grid, we asked them to put up a street light over the railroad tracks. They feel it's very dangerous there, so do I. And so consequently we went to National Grid. We're asking for the board's approval tonight to rectify that safety issue. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you.
I had a question.
Yes.
You say we. When did this come in? This was the first time that I saw it on the agenda. When did this come in?
I think it came in, what's today, Wednesday? I think it came in, we moved pretty fast on that. So I think it was Friday, I received an email from a resident who brought the safety issue to our attention. I think, Chris, I don't know if you guys looked at it, but we looked at it, and it was a safety issue. Everyone, it was agreed it was a safety issue. So, we're going to install one street light to satisfy the safety issue.
One street light, that's it.
One street light.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm sorry. Highway Garage Project, Councilor Thomas.
Move for the adoption of a resolution to authorize the following expenditures for the Highway Garage Project. $29,494.84 to MRB, $132,287.50 to Bosch Mechanical, $41,880.51 to Lane Construction, $101,585 to JBS Dirt, $524,323 $19,000.05 to Building Infiltration Group, $19,570 to Carp Electric, and $1,400 to Corin Man.
Snap away. Any, yeah, right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We didn't get a second. I second. Oh, Jonathan seconds it, sorry. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Carried unanimously, thank you.
Building Innovation Group, whereas the town of Cicero, herein referred to as the town board, is awarded the construction of a highway facility at 6650 New York State Route 31, town of Cicero. The award of the general construction portion of the project was to Build Innovation Group. The project award amount is $5,113,440, which did not include desired ad alternatives. Whereas the town board has decided to include selected ad alternatives to the project and accept cost savings options suggested by the contractor. The alternates elected and the cost savings are as follows. Provide epoxy floor finish in the main garage at $55,974. Provide salt barn structure in its entirety at $412,854. Provide the garage mezzanine area at $68,460. Provide pre-engineered canopy over fuel island at $73,207. Change steel frames from H240 deflection to H100. Deduct $98,752. Change 2.5 fluted 22 gauge exterior skin to 24 gauge. Deduct $7,125. Change 4-inch CFR standing steam roof panels from 22 gauge to 24 gauge. Deduct $20,385. Whereas the total change order based on the values noted above is $484,233. MRB has reviewed these items with the contractor and found these acceptable. NRB Group has prepared a change order number 1 in the amount noted with the backup information. Now, therefore, be resolved that the town of Cicero, the town board, accept change order number 1 to Building Innovation Group Incorporated. The town board further resolves that the supervisor fixes signature to change order number 1, authorizing the amount of $484,233 to be added to the contract of Building Innovation Group Incorporated.
Second. Vote on this.
Yeah, please.
First of all these numbers are numbers that are included in Shirley's numbers for the 1.4 million. They are things we approved as a board, as a committee, a number of months ago. We didn't follow up with the paperwork. We did. You can see that because we continue to do a value engineering on the building, even though the bids are in, we continue to look at the building. Is there ways we can in fact do the same thing for less money? That's why you see the $126,000 credit to Building Innovation Group. The other one, for example, we're looking at right now the epoxy floor finish. We're looking at another product that we have understood has had 5 or 6 years of wear that may be significantly cheaper and be better than the epoxy floor. So we're still looking at that. You know, for example, the office area or what we would call a public area has got tile floor. Well, we're going to look at that and see whether that really makes sense because of long-term maintenance. Again, the building's going to be here for 50 years. We're looking at that, and we may in fact change that to the product that we're talking about in the rest of the building, which will be like an epoxy, but will not probably be epoxy. So again, we continue, even though we are under construction, we continue to look at those numbers and see how we can in fact cut our numbers down. So now you can second it and vote.
Don, before you go, I know that the meeting that I was in, we did discuss some of these. forgive me if I've forgotten, the change orders, when we do a change order, what is our cost when we ask for a change order?
It's nothing. But, I mean,
They do not charge us
no,
for a
they,
change order?
no. They do not charge us, NRB does not charge us to write them up, and the contractors do not charge us to accept them.
Okay.
And actually, well, again, another positive on this, other than the epoxy floor number, the numbers that were accepted, that we accepted, were the numbers in the original bid. So even though we had waited about 2 months from the original bid to when we said, look, we got to do this, only the epoxy number went up. All the others stayed the same. And then, of course, we got the steel savings added to that.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Don, for everything that you guys do. We had a second, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Carried unanimously, thank you. Councilor Boyke.
Emergency sewer repair. Move for the adoption of a resolution to approve $15,018.72 to D.E. Tivoli Incorporated for an emergency sanitary sewer repair at 6087 Marigold Lane.
Second.
Any board comments or discussion?
Yeah, I got one. Chris, do you know when the road's gonna be fixed, where they dug up?
Typically, the contractor will do that. They actually were going to schedule that work a few days after the repair.
Is the weather going to, is that still gonna happen? Because I'm asking as I drive over.
My understanding is the asphalt plants are still open, but.
Yeah, they're still
So-
about, first, second week of December.
Oh,
The plan is to.
that was my concern, was
Yeah.
whether
Yeah, look outside.
The plan is
materials
to
available.
repair it, Yes, yes.
Thank you. Any further board discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Thank you. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you.
Move for adoption of a resolution approving $20,000 to Saratoga Associates Professional Services contract signed September 23rd, 2009 for design and construction documents for Riverfront Park, Walking, and Walnut Street streetscape improvements utilizing New York State Department of State grant number C100929. A detailed proposal dated November 8th, 2018 was provided to board members. This resolution also authorizes the supervisor to execute the agreement and any other necessary documents.
Second. Any board discussion? All those in-
Yes, I
please.
have questions. Jody?
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, I'm very familiar with this project. Why are we putting money on Walnut Street, which is a back?
Grant for $275,000 towards that. We need to spend some of that money. We're only going to spend about $2,500 of this year, between now and the end of the year, getting some general design work done. And then from there, it's going to wrap into the park, improve the parking itself, and it moves into the other 2 parcels once we get those 2 parcels. So it's the entire park going in. And if you look at Walnut Street, Chris has been up there a number of times.
I was there.
There's no curbing, there's no sidewalks, it's rough, it needs repaving. There's just a lot of trying to designate where people should be driving and where people should be walking. And you have a lot of folks that are wheelchair and the electric wheelchairs within the hamlet up there that have had a lot of concerns about getting access into the park because of the unevenness of that area.
How is this going to affect the apartments that are there?
They're going to have some discussions about right-of-way and where that right-of-way is. Those will have to be had with members of the board, with those owners of those properties.
And where are we with the 2 parcels?
I can say I met with
I'm not involved in those meetings. That would be Mr. Vanessa.
Yeah, I met with New York State DOT 2 weeks ago on a few issues. And when we talked about the parcels, they are going ahead, they're purchasing. So the bridge, just so that you guys, I'm sorry for that, if that offends anybody, but just so the public knows, that bridge is going to be replaced. The Brewton Bridge is going to go down 20, 2020, the end of next year, 2020. And there was discussions with our police department on traffic. We had a meeting with DOT, but they are moving ahead. New York State DOT is moving forward with the paperwork to acquire the properties. We put money aside, and then they are going to turn those properties over to the town of Cicero.
They aren't gonna do anything, Judy, until they square away the bridge.
Right.
That's the
There will be
biggest
nothing,
concern,
yeah.
because of the apron of the bridge, the temporary road, all of that is gonna impede some of that parcel, I believe, Mark,
I
so
have a question, because this is gonna be a big impact
huge.
in the traffic.
It's gonna be closed for
Do we
almost
have
2
any
years.
estimate at all?
2 years.
2
It'll be
years?
closed 2 years.
Wow.
They have to replace the whole bridge because it is a single bridge. The beams across, they cannot do half of it. It's so old that when it's repaired, I've met with several of the businesses around there as well. And it's going to be a major impact. My other concern is understanding when they do these projects that their equipment and their parking and everything is going to impact our whole area where their park is. And they don't care. We know that. They do care, but they don't care.
First of all, the entire bridge is not going to be replaced. One of the concerns of the, so let me just make some corrections. The character of the bridge with the overhead girders and all that, the Brewerton Revitalization Committee had asked that that be preserved to preserve the character of the hamlet of Brewerton. The state has agreed to do that. So what they're going to do is they are going to, the bridge will be done in sections. You're going to have a stoplight, so they will stop traffic on one end while traffic goes through. They're going to replace just the center of the bridge. You're absolutely right, Councilor Boyke, it is a 2-year project, but they have minimized the impact on the residents. They've gone out of their way to minimize the impact on the community and on the residents. The other thing is too is special trip mechanisms will be put in place so our police department and our fire departments can cross that bridge, can stop traffic to use it. So they're not replacing the entire bridge, they're going to replace the center of the bridge, maintain the character of the original bridge, repaint it, refurbish that, and they will block one lane, if you will, under the bridge with a barge at a time so that boat traffic can still move through. So anyway, that was the gist of the meeting that we had with New York State.
Well, that's a little better.
Well,
Yeah.
and I hope that our police department isn't going over their bridge because that's Oswego County.
Okay, so anyway, that being said, any other comments on the Riverfront Water Park, Riverfront Park? There being none, we had a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We carry unanimously. Thank you.
One quick more, Jody, what is the town's portion in regards to this grant?
In regards to the 20-year, the grant itself is $275, ours is $137.5. And that's over the course of 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
In the interest of decorum, if we could keep our comments to the comment section. Personnel Highway, I'll move for the adoption of a resolution to approve the wing list of employees for 2018-2019, snow plow season at an hourly rate of $18 an hour.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Mr. Conway.
Move the adoption of a resolution to approve the following purchases for the highway department.
Hold on.
We missed the personnel one, Mark.
Personnel,
Oh, personnel.
John.
Wing list, no, I don't have, no, the list is attached.
No,
No, there's another one, I'll do it. Move the adoption resolution to
Oh,
approve the hire of Linda Adams, Recreation Program Director, to replace Blake Probst at $19.23 an hour with a start date of December 10th, 2018, budget code B70201.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Mine didn't have that, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So I missed it. I'm sorry, Mr. Conway.
$54,741.38 to Barrett Paving for additional paving DB 511255. 10,000 to Syracuse Retreaders for tires. DB 513042.
Second.
Any board comments or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whereas there has been established in the town a cemetery known as the Cicero Cemetery Association, and whereas the association owns and maintains a public cemetery on Brewerton Road in the town, and whereas the association has under its care certain funds for perpetual care, permanent maintenance, special trust, and general expenses, which it would like to transfer to the town of Cicero, and whereas the association has dwindling membership and is unable to procure sufficient income from investments, the members of the association and the representatives of the deceased persons interred in the cemetery, and whereas the Cemetery Association has requested the town of Cicero, pursuant to section 1506J of the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law, accept the conveyance of the cemetery premises in accordance with the survey dated January 8th, 1997, completed by Robert C. Goodeve, and transfer of assets. It is hereby resolved that the town of Cicero agrees to accept the conveyance of the cemetery premises and the transfer of the assets from the Cemetery Association. Such conveyance shall be subject to all agreements as to lots sold and all trust restrictions and conditions upon the title or use of real property or assets. This resolution also authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to complete this transfer, and any subsequent deed transfer is subject to the approval of the town attorney as to form and contents.
Second.
I have one, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
Upon the desire, I have a comment, upon the desire of the Cicero Cemetery Association for the town to take over care of the Cicero Cemetery, I'd like to acknowledge the monumental effort of all the members of the Cicero Cemetery Association over the years since their incorporation in 1862. Their efforts cared for our deceased, maintained monuments and fences, mowed and kept records of the cemetery operation for over 156 years. The remaining members of the association should be assured that the town will continue their efforts and care of those who settled this community and created our history. Noteworthy of those persons, veterans from as far back as the Revolutionary War, to abolitionists, doctors, farmers who cleared the land, builders of the first plank road in the United States, and the everyday citizen who made this community what it is today. All of those folks are represented in that cemetery. There having been, and thank you to them for the great job that they've done over the years. Any other comments on the cemetery? All those in favor, please say, oh, actually, I'm sorry. You're going to take a roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Counselor Boyke?
Yes.
Counselor Cushman?
Yes.
Counselor Conway?
Yes.
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
And Supervisor Vineski?
Yes. Pass unanimously, thank you. John?
Move the adopted resolution to approve the following expenditure for the Parks Department. $15,000 to RZ Engineering PLLC for engineering services associated with Skyway Park parking lot project, budget code A7110459.
Second.
Any board comments or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Town Hall carpet replacement, move for the adoption of a resolution to approve $8,844. Edward Marcello, Lomar Carpet and Tile, sole proprietor, in the amount of $8,844 to install new carpet in the town hall, courtroom, and hallways.
Second.
Second. And that's coming out of the building fund, our building fund. Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We carry unanimously. Thank you.
I put a sample of
I was
it
gonna
right
say,
there.
nice looking
Looks good,
sample.
thank you. Surplus, move for the adoption resolution to declare the old sound system surplus and of no use to the town. Items are to include the following: 7 goosenecks, 5 handheld microphones, 1 mixer, 2 speakers, 1 amplifier. Move for the adoption of resolution to declare a broken HP printer from the court department surplus to be disposed.
Second. Any board comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We carry unanimously. Discussion items. We have a couple tonight. The town hall has to purchase a generator. When we collapsed, actually, we moved our police department out of the old double-wide trailer off this property. The trailer has been removed and sold bid out. But the servers, telephones, are now in this building. And the police department had a generator, but we need to install a generator because if the power goes out, the police department goes down, and they are emergency responders. The phone systems go down, you won't be able to call here, I guess that's okay. But the police department emergency responders are the main thing. So we're forced to install a generator, but it's not simple. So we had to determine how big the generator had to be, and we have to determine, which we have a plan for, where the generator would be installed. Do we want the generator in front of the building, or we can't install it behind because the hookups are in the front. All this stuff goes into the equation, right? So we have not, and the Cicero Fire Department, I see Ralph left, but Cicero offered us their old generator, which thank them very much for doing that. We've had to analyze whether or not we buy the old generator from the Cicero Fire Department, which has to be housed in an inside, or we buy a new generator under warranty that can be outside, that's designed to be outside. All of those things go into the equation. So what we do know is that we're not buying a generator this month, right? And we have budgeted it. So, because there's some questions yet to be unanswered, and the engineers want to write the specs, and they should write the specs, right, Don? Yes. So we're kind of forced with that, so, but we are going to have to install a generator. We're working through the process. The other thing we talked about was sidewalk maintenance. And I just want to paint a picture for you, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We are a suburban town, we're not a city. So we cannot, because we tried, and we couldn't. We wanted to establish a sidewalk district. So the problem that we have is we have more sidewalks coming in the interest of safety, as we know. Route 11 was installed this year. I've worked with Assemblyman Sturkey to come up with money to put sidewalks in from the high school, going west to Thompson Road, Torchwood. And that is our plan, and Assemblyman Sturkey got us a large grant to do that, not enough to finish the project. New York State DOT, that's another thing, asked us to not finish the whole project because they're going to re-engineer next year the Torchwood Thompson Road intersection with the turn lanes that are going to go in, all good stuff, right? So to help with the traffic problem. But anyway, so what we said is we have an ordinance, so we couldn't establish a sidewalk district because our initial thought was that we would hire this out. Instead of buying the brand new machine that Chris wanted, our old machine is shot, and then we looked at the manpower and what we're paying a major equipment operator at $26 an hour, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We looked at all the costs. So the bottom line is this, we put it out to bid, we put a contract together the town board had input on it, on the contract. The county put the contract out for us because they do that as a service to us. It's intermunicipal, doesn't cost us any money, it saves the town money. We put out a bid to take care of the sidewalks. Not the sidewalks that abut to personal property or business property, but those areas that are not cleared, that don't abut to any. Under the bridges, Route 81, 481, Taft Road, those areas that are the town's responsibility by law. One of the things that sticks in my mind, and the other councilors have the same concerns or other concerns, is the town is liable. If we have kids walking the road, and it gets dark now, it's getting darker. If we have a fatality because the sidewalks aren't maintained, who gets sued? I asked that question. The town does. You pay for it. I pay for it. We live here with you. So because we could not maintain or establish a sidewalk district, we did two things. We have, on the books, we have ordinances, and we have a law that says anyone who abuts to a sidewalk, a property owner, has to clear their own sidewalk. We began enforcing that for the first time last year. It's never been done before. I don't know how long the law's been around, but last year we sent letters to all of the property owners. We paid a personal visit to the property owners with our code enforcement people, and for those who just said we're not going to do it, we said fine, here's a citation, talk to the judge. And guess what, they all got done. But we have areas that aren't done. So we figured, well, let's take a look and see if we can get someone to bid on this, put together a contract with the board, with the county, and based on some contracts that other communities and cities had done, we came up with something that we felt worked for Cicero. It went out to bid, I think 2 weeks ago. We got one bidder. The bidder is a maintenance company out of the state of Virginia. And they, no, now this gets even better. So they, you know, we wanted, if there's 4 inches of snow, we're gonna clear those sidewalks, we wanted someone to do it. We put it out there and floated it. And the only bidder came back with $8,500 each time it snows. So, which, if you take the average, you know, we all, right, 50 times a year that it snows, and you do the math, and I'm not good at math, but I have people here who are, we're looking at about $50,000 a year, so that's unacceptable, right? We're not gonna do that. So we're in a situation where we had a meeting today with Highway, with the foreman, with Chris Woznicka. We are going to do it in-house. We're gonna try it this year. We are going to lease a machine for $10,500. We're not gonna buy a new one for over $100,000. We're gonna lease a machine to do it for 5 months. It's gonna cost us $10,500, and we're gonna do it in-house. We have people here at night. We're gonna do the best we can, and we're gonna hold the property owners and the business owners accountable. Not everybody liked it, but it's the safety of you, your children, and the people who live in this community. It's just part of doing business, I guess. So anyway, that's where we are with sidewalk maintenance. And then the other thing I did mention earlier, we were very fortunate. We went to the governor's office, and the governor rewarded us with a $70,000 grant today, which we'll put into the water fund to proactively repair our sewers. And that being said, we'll go to public input now before the executive sessions. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring to the board? This is a late meeting, but I will happily talk to anybody. Yes, sir, please.
Anybody been having problems with power outages in the last few weeks? I've contacted National Grid about this. I thought if maybe our supervisor were to contact National Grid as our supervisor.
I did.
And tell them, because I think I've had at least 20 or 30 people contact them, and every person I talk to, all they say is, oh, we'll get around to it. We'll send somebody out, but it continues to happen. So I think you're doing it. I think if you're willing to do that, that's great, and I really appreciate that.
That's what you pay me for.
Yeah.
We had actually Mary Ellen and I sat in the dark with my neighbors the other night. We had a brownout.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a blackout; it was a brownout. We cut the power to the house because I think you burned out your keyboard and whatever. So we tried to save it, but I did call National Grid. If you have an issue like that, we have part of the business of doing business is relationships, right?
Yeah.
So we've made relationships with National Grid, a couple of people there, above and beyond just the person who answers the phone. I would be happy to take them. If you have a problem, please call me.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to get with, I have 2 contacts at National Grid. One is a higher up contact.
Please yell at them for all of us.
Well, yeah, Mary Ellen and I pay with you. All right, anyone else before we go to public we go to executive session?
Lewis Party, Cicero. About 3 years ago, I brought up they needed a street light at the corner of Carmatia and Party Road. Because it's dark there at night, there's cars making U-turns because they miss the hotels and stuff. And it's right on the hill and it's dangerous. I was told it was going to be done. I brought it up again probably 6 months ago, a year ago, I don't know when it was. And it's still not done.
Okay.
I just think it should be taken care of.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I made a note of it.
Our town clerk, I believe, has a small video that we'd like to show. This one was taken a week ago. It does not show a very important date, which was today. Today, the steel started to be erected. If you drive by the site tonight, look through the darkness, you'll see some steel being erected. We still have a fair amount of concrete to pour, but you'll see the steel starting to go up. This video will show that we, just in time, and by the way, the board will be asked to pay a few dollars for this as soon as we get the number.
Are we parking Boeing 747-400s?
We are. We can when we're done. Chris can't right now. We're trying to find this little video. But what it will show is a major laydown yard which is full of steel at this point. had we not spent the money to move some mud and put stone down, I don't know, I guess we'd have had 31 would have been closed.
And we flew in the steel, by the way.
They just flew it in.
Building going.
Because the file is so big, when they do the drone flyover, the last time they gave me a little drive. This one, they sent it through somebody that allows you to move big files, and maybe we won't see that.
What are we gonna be asked to spend money on, Don?
Pardon?
You just said, what are we gonna be asked to spend money on?
You're gonna be asked to spend money, probably $10,000 to, it is not stone weather. It's muddy, it's wet, you don't put stone down in that situation.
Okay.
What we did is we took between 3 and 6 inches of mud, got it out of the way, put our fabric down and put 3 inches of stone, and then this 12 inches of stone that we paid for.
Okay, thank you.
So right here now, right ahead, you'll see, right in front, over this, right there, is the pad being built. Here's where we actually had to dig out the conduit runs that were put in by a contractor. He will be charged about $4,000 for the work that was done there. You'll see our ponds in the back are a little bit fuller than the last time you saw the video. We have not done any work in the pond area. That'll all be done in the spring. But most of the site water goes to the ponds now. The way in the top of the picture, you'll see when the drone goes over there, that's the area where the steel is being erected now. Our plan is to put the first 25%, a large percentage of the detailed work will take place. Do that this winter, and then next spring we'll really get at the main part of the building where all of our trucks will park. So the next time you see a video, you should see a lot of gray stuff stick up in the air. I do have to admit, it came from another country, but it wasn't China. This all came from Mexico.
So it wasn't US Steel?
Huh?
It wasn't US Steel?
No, well, it might have been US Steel when it was probably a tanker or a aircraft carrier.
The beams were fabricated in Mexico?
They were all welded in Mexico.
Okay, thanks.
So here they are, as I said, the part that the truck is backing into now has all been leveled. We've got the concrete foundation around that area is done, and that's why the steel is being erected in what will be this corner coming up right here now.
Now, these videos are very informative. Do we pay separately for them, or is that included in?
What's that?
Do we pay separately for these drone videos?
We don't. This drone video is supplied by JBS Dirt. It's the only freebie we get from a contractor. I don't know how long they'll do this, but I would think they will do it until their contract is done, and they've got a lot of stone and a lot of work to do. That they'll be back in the spring. So when I asked them to do a video, they were doing snapshots for their stuff. They ran it again in a video for us, and as far as I know, they'll do it anytime we want.
That's great. They're very impressive. I just wanted to make sure we weren't getting like $500.
No, I
was going to say, I think they have.
I'll pay $10,000 for a bunch of dirt, but I won't pay $500 for a video.
Fair enough. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
So.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
And I say it at every meeting, but I'm here with these guys.
But he never stands up.
He doesn't. He hides back
He shouldn't even stand
Don
up.
Bloss and Don Snyder. If we had to pay them, it would be a lot more than you're paying me, believe me. Anyway, that being said, I'll go ahead and close the public discussion. We're going to move into executive session. For the first executive session, we will reconvene. The second one, we will not. So I'll move for the adoption of a resolution to enter into executive session related to public employee collective bargaining negotiations. We will now go into executive session. Counselor, if you will join us. Actually, yes.
Yeah, control of the
No, you don't have to say, no, you don't have to say anything to anybody else.
Made it attorney more.
Motion to reconvene was made at 9 o'clock by my supervisor, vice chair, seconded by me. Move the adoption resolution to approve a memorandum of agreement between the town of Cicero and the Cicero Police Benevolent Association related to collective bargaining. This resolution also authorizes the supervisor to execute all necessary documents carried into effect.
Second.
Any further board discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We pass unanimously. I'll now make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Just that.
I'll tell you what.